I'm not to the point where I'm annoyed and I'm going to call people out their names, or especially people that I love, like the person I'm about to talk about in a few minutes.
The WNBA is unsure of what to do in light of Caitlin Clark's reported move to Europe.
On the wrong team, she's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
Without Clark, the ratings have already dropped by more than 50%, and the WNBA will revert to its previous practices if she chooses not to return.
Only the aces sell out every game. They got 4 Olympians. They got Asia Wilson, unanimous MVP. They got Kelsey Plum, who was the #1 overall pick. Jackie Young was on the Olympic team. Chelsea Gray was on the Olympic team. I don't get it.
Since the WNBA's offseason has begun, many players have decided to leave the league and relocate overseas, where they can earn more money and play less games.
Is already in Istanbul, where she will be playing for the off-season. And from the sounds of this interview, it seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season.
The WNBA is in a frenzy because Caitlin Clark, their biggest star, is about to leave. Without Caitlin, the WNBA will probably fail because no one will choose to watch a game over CC. Therefore, I hope Caitlin goes this way, so we may watch her without being singled out during the season.
There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball ratings. Kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport in viewership.
After increasing the salaries of their other players, Caitlin will give them the compensation they so well deserve, and if she leaves, her followers will too. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA will be in ruins.
That's considered the marketing savior for the sport. Yes, they were talking about chartered flights before she ever came along and opened her mouth. But shortly after Caitlin Clark opened her mouth, you had chartered flights. And you ain't have it in 2 decades. He's got that kind of influence, that kind of...
The WNBA is in a panic. For years, the league has been putting in endless effort to expand its fan base, draw in new players, and gain a greater portion of the sports world's attention. Now, they are facing a huge catastrophe that they should have anticipated. Let's take a moment to reflect on how we got here. Caitlin Clark, the most talented player in women's basketball and possibly the league's biggest attraction, is reportedly considering leaving the WNBA to join with a European team.
Now that Caitlin Clark is out, and again, like I said, she brought a whole new fan base. And I'm not going to say it was one race or another or one type of person. I believe that all different types of people really started embracing Caitlin Clark. Female, male, black, white, young, old. Caitlin Clark is just a superstar. That's what happens when you have a star in a...
As the season went on, it became evident that Caitlin Clark was being singled out more than any other player, taking hard hits and needless contact. While she was making headlines for her incredible performances, she was also becoming the target of both opposing players and referees' leniency. It wasn't just the typical competitive intensity that comes with professional sports. It was something more. Opponents knew that in order to stop Clark, they had to rough her up, and they did, and the league apparently chose to ignore it. Caitlin Clark was the league's most fouled player, and it wasn't even close games. Opponents used physicality as their only tactic to slow her down, elbowing her to the ribs, shoves on drives, body checks, and more. It all became second nature to Clark, whose unrivaled skill on the court made her a target. Despite the clear risk to her safety, the referees consistently failed to make the necessary calls, and to make matters worse, the WNBA didn't intervene to protect their best player. Instead of tightening officiating and cracking down on the excessive fouling, they let the problem fester, leaving Clark on her own.
Exactly what I'm saying, because I think it makes a mockery of the women's game. If the focus on, now we just have to have people because of marketing and their attention, and they're not as talented, and we're not putting the best team out.
Being a fierce competitor, Clark attempted to persevere through it. Her love for the game and determination to compete at the highest level kept her going despite the increasing physical and mental toll. But after a season of constant taunting and disrespect for her safety, she became exhausted and could no longer remain silent in public. Clark repeatedly brought up the issue in the hopes that the WNBA would intervene and take action, but her requests were ignored.
Basically being mad at myself because I missed the 3 and then I went and hit the backboard and he told me it was disrespectful to the game of basketball. So I don't know, it reminded me of the technical that I got in college where I said, damn it, where it's like a personal frustration. Had nothing to do with my team, had nothing to do with their reffing, had nothing to do with other team. It was just because I'm a...
After a season full of cruel fouls, the league, who seemed more concerned with preserving the status quo, decided not to address the issue because they were unaware, or maybe didn't want to, that their inaction was gradually driving Clark away. Eventually, enough was enough, Caitlin Clark said. Her decision, which sent shockwaves through the WNBA, was the result of relentless targeting and little to no support from the league. The league had failed her, failing to protect her on the court, failing to pay attention to her repeated complaints about the officiating, and most importantly, failing to acknowledge her enormous value as a marketable star who could elevate the league as a whole. Clark was a transformative character in addition to being an athlete, and the WNBA's indifference to her welfare drove her to her breaking point.
Producing the most watched WNBA games in over 2 decades. What does that tell you? That tells you that before Caitlin Clark came along, it wasn't nearly as popular. It doesn't mean it wasn't growing in popularity over the last 2 to 3 years. But 3 years ago, WNBA was an afterthought.
Being the astute player that she is, Clark started looking into other options. Soon after, Europe called, and Clark realized that European basketball leagues had long been a haven for elite women's basketball players, providing them with greater compensation, more exposure, and, to be honest, better treatment. Although the financial incentives and the allure of playing overseas were alluring, Clark made the decision out of a greater sense of self-preservation. She wanted to continue her career, but not at the expense of her physical well-being or for a league that didn't have.
Also need to, I don't know if an apology is warranted to Caitlin Clark or they just need to, in general, do.
The WNBA is currently in full-blown panic mode. The league had been so focused on preserving the status quo that they were unaware of the depth of what they had in Caitlin Clark until she passed away. They disregarded Clark's requests for protection and permitted excessively violent play, even though she was their main attraction. The player with the potential to take the league to new heights with Clark gone, the fallout has been quick and severe, and the number of fans who turned in only to see her amazing performances has drastically decreased. Clark wasn't just another exceptional player. She was a game changer who had the ability to completely transform the WNBA's popularity. Games that formerly had crowded arenas with Clark's name on the marquee are now desperately trying to fill seats, and the deep threes, no-look passes, clutch buzzer beaters, and others have no incentive to attend. The WNBA is now pleading with Clark to return because they've realized too late that they're in serious trouble without her. They've tried to persuade her to change their mind, but it's obvious that Clark has had enough. She gave the league everything, her talent, her time, her body, and in exchange, she was ignored and mistreated.
I understand Caitlin Clark is a superstar in the making, okay? I understand she's arguably a generational talent. I get all of that. But to put something like this up and to just sit there and say that she's the reason why the WNBA ratings are what they are, is straight up dumb.
The WNBA overlooked the fact that Caitlin Clark was more than simply a player. She wasn't someone who could be readily replaced by the upcoming rookie or rising star. Clark was the player, the unique talent, who had the power to drastically alter the league's course. She was the one who could attract new fans to the game and inspire a passion for women's basketball in a way that had never been seen before. Her popularity went beyond the sport itself, giving the WNBA a fantastic chance to become well-known. But instead of fostering and safeguarding their most valuable asset, the league allowed her to be physically harassed and harassed night after night. The WNBA ignored her complaints. Clark voiced her desire for further protection, but her worries were dismissed, and now they are paying the price for their...
Only one that I've seen other than Steph Curry that can do that. She's incredible. She's the best player to... I've said this all year. She's the best player to watch play basketball, playing basketball, other than Steph.
And jealousy that surrounded Clark during the season became evident. Rival players grew weary of her dominance and resented the attention she received. Fans of other teams were quick to criticize her, and this negativity gradually crept into the league's general attitude towards her. Rather than applauding her brilliance, there was an undercurrent of resentment that, when combined with the lack of support, eventually drove Clark away from the WNBA.
intangible thing, right? Yes, we can say she's a dog. Okay, there's been other dogs. Okay, she's a great shooter. There's been other great shooters. She has it. She's got the thing. We can't assign it.
Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is clearly having trouble. Even though the remaining stars are unquestionably talented, they lack the charisma and appeal that Clark commanded, and fans who once tuned in to watch her record-breaking performances are no longer interested in the games because they miss the thrilling energy that Clark brought with her every time she took the court. The excitement that surrounded the league just a season ago has dissipated, and the WNBA, which was finally starting to gain momentum, is now losing it at an alarming rate. Viewership is plummeting, and attendance has taken a sharp nosedive. And wherever she goes, ratings follow the WNBA draft, the doublehead of the Open NBA season. Ratings for many fans, without Caitlin Clark lighting up the court. The league feels dull and uninspiring. The WNBA is starting to feel boring and almost talentless compared to when Clark was front and center, drawing eyes and headlines every night. Now the league is scrambling to figure out how to move forward, but it's clear that rebuilding the lost viewership won't be easy. They'll need to find a new star to carry the torch, but players like Caitlin Clark don't come around often. She was a generational talent. The WNBA had the opportunity to build around her to make her the face of the league, and they blew it. Now they face the near impossible task of trying to fill a void that might never be filled. His future is more uncertain than ever. Although the league has been around for decades, it has always struggled to capture the same level of attention, media coverage, and viewership as the NBA. Given the impact Caitlin Clark had on the league, the WNBA will need to drastically improve its marketing strategies, refocus its efforts on fan engagement, and most importantly, learn from their mistakes. They can't afford to misrepresent or ignore another star player the way they did with Clark, because if they do, the league's already fragile reputation will continue to suffer, putting its future in jeopardy. Caitlin Clark was their golden opportunity to break through to a wider audience and bring the WNBA into the mainstream conversation.
Wherever she goes, ratings follow. The WNBA draft, the doublehead of the Open NBA season, ratings.
The WNBA had the opportunity to shield Caitlin Clark and give her a sense of value, but instead they let her slip away. Now, those same fans are leaving as well because they don't want to watch a league that permitted its biggest star to be forced out. The WNBA is now facing a long and challenging road to recover, rebuilding their reputation, reestablishing their connection with their fan base, and improving their product on